Let's begin with a story. When I was 27 years old, my brother and I had just come to the realization that our first business was a failure. We didn't want to admit it, but after months of non-existent sales, there was nothing left to deny. Even though that failure resulted in a considerable loss of time and money, we knew we had to try again. Because we didn't want to fail a second time, we spent months analyzing the pros and cons of our options. We constantly flip-flopped between ideas and were never able to settle on what felt like the right one. After becoming entirely frustrated with not knowing what to do, I asked to meet with a successful entrepreneur. During our meeting, I asked the entrepreneur if he ever got stuck because he couldn't decide what to do. I was expecting him to be sympathetic and help me work through my ideas, but that's not what happened. He answered the question rather abruptly, saying, "No, I never get stuck trying to make a decision." At first, his answer struck me as insensitive and arrogant, but as he continued, I realized that his answer was the slap in the face I needed. By the time the meeting was over, the entrepreneur had taught me a rough framework for making decisions. Moving forward, my brother and I used that framework to make our next business a multi-million-dollar success. To date, I've spent more than a decade using and refining that decision-making framework, and today, I'll share it with you. Step number 1 is gather information. Without information, it's nearly impossible to make a good decision, and that's because you have no basis from which to make your decision. As an example, consider how effective a doctor would be if they knew nothing about their patient or their condition. Gathering information also expands your options and helps you solve your problems. And thankfully, getting more information is pretty straightforward. You can do so by researching, talking with experts, taking a course, or talking with someone who disagrees with you. Step number 2 is filter. Gathering information is helpful, but only to a point. Eventually, you have to filter through the data you have to find the best ideas. Because if you don't, there's a good chance you'll be overwhelmed by information overload. Knowing this, here are 4 ideas that can help you filter information. Idea number 1 is always remember the goal. Not all information will support your goal, so if any information doesn't directly support the decision you're making, get rid of it. Idea number 2 is never use the finer details if the bigger picture will do. Some decisions only require the 30,000-foot view. So if you're making a 30,000-foot decision, don't waste your time sifting through the details. Idea number 3 is don't be a perfectionist. Most of the time, 90% is good enough. For example, you can lose a tremendous amount of weight by eating healthy 90% of the time. By comparison, eating healthy 100% of the time is significantly harder to do and will yield little to no additional benefit. To avoid this problem, hang on to the information that gives you 90% of the results and filter out the rest. And idea number 4 is consider the source. Many people will freely give you an unqualified opinion, so if any information comes from someone who isn't credible or doesn't understand your situation, remind yourself to let that information go. Step number 3 for making better decisions is use logic and reason. It's not uncommon for people to let emotions sway their decisions. So you might let fear influence you to stay in the wrong relationship, or jealousy to influence you to act impulsively. You can avoid this problem by relying on facts and logic. You see, if you've done a good job gathering information, then there's a good chance that your data will point to a narrow set of options. Then it's up to you to choose the best rational option. Here's an example. Assume you feel jealous because someone you've been dating has left you for another person. If you're influenced by jealousy, there's a good chance you'll make a poor decision, like trying to convince that person to stay with you. But looking at this situation logically would lead to a different decision. That's because it makes little sense to be in a relationship with somebody who loves another person. Expecting that outcome is unfair to you and your ex. So in this case, a more logical decision would be aiming to fall in love with someone who loves you in return while managing the pain of your loss. Step number 4 is think long-term. Many behaviors that offer short-term rewards are problematic if continued long-term. Prime examples are eating too much, drinking too much, and spending too much. You can prevent this problem by asking yourself a simple question. How will this decision affect my life in the next 10 minutes and the next 10 years? If you discover that your decision feels good in the next 10 minutes, but takes you away from where you hope to be in the next 10 years, then reconsider your decision. Step number 5 is don't stall. Most people stall when they feel uncertain. So you might stall when ending a relationship because you can't guarantee that you'll find love in the future. Or you might stall when moving to a new city because you can't guarantee that you'll be happy living there. When my brother and I were starting our second business, we stalled because we couldn't guarantee that we wouldn't fail again. But in doing so, we got nowhere. The main lesson I learned when meeting with a successful entrepreneur is this: few things in life are certain. That said, at any moment, you have a given amount of information. And if you want to continue moving your life forward, you have to make the best decision you can with the information you have. Now, if you fail, that's okay, because failure adds to your pool of knowledge, and you can use that knowledge to make better future decisions. If you're guilty of stalling, the following idea from authors Chip and Dan Heath can help, and that's setting tripwires. Tripwires are markers or milestones that force you to make a decision once they're reached. So, as an example, you might decide to change your marketing plan if you don't make a sale in the next 3 months. Hey, I just wanted to take a quick break to tell you about my app, Aware. Aware is a self-improvement based meditation app, and it has dozens of courses that teach you important skills like how to make better decisions, build good habits, and develop more self-confidence. The app combines all of those lessons with guided meditation, which helps you develop the state of mind and self-awareness needed to apply what you've learned. On top of that, you also get the benefits of meditation, like improved focus and sleep, plus a reduction in negative emotions like stress, anxiety, and sadness. The reason I think Aware is different is because every session is unique. In the hundreds of lessons inside the app, you'll hear interesting stories, helpful ideas, and be asked thought-provoking questions to support what you're learning. So if you like the type of content you see on this channel and self-improvement in general, then I think you'll love Aware. It's available on iOS, Android, and the web, and you can get started today for free with the links below in the description. Let's get back to the video. Step number 6 is make a 100% commitment. Partial commitment is the equivalent of being married, but spending time every day to decide if you should be faithful. You waste a lot of time and energy with partial commitment. In contrast, 100% commitment is powerful because it ends the discussion. You see, so many decisions are made for you when you clearly define who you are and who you are not. So if you decide that your business only serves a particular customer, then you don't have to worry about making everyone happy. And if you commit to a daily meditation practice, then you no longer have to decide if you should meditate every day. Step number 7 is make decisions that work for you. Author of the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss, used to spend hours every day helping his customer service agents make decisions. As a result, Ferriss had little time to work on his business. To solve this problem, Ferriss gave all of his customer service agents the authority to spend up to $100 when solving any issue. In doing so, Ferriss's customer service responsibilities became nearly non-existent overnight. You can use the same idea in your life. You might decide to have a percentage of your paycheck automatically invested in a retirement fund, or you might eat the same meal every morning so you don't have to think about breakfast every day. And step number 8 is test the waters. People often make decisions because they assume they know what life will look like on the other side, when in reality, they don't. To give you a personal example, I chose a mechanical engineering major because I'm good at math and I thought that mechanical engineering jobs would be fun. But I never tested that assumption. A week after I started my first engineering job, I realized that engineering wasn't what I assumed it would be. And that was a painful discovery. Now, I'm not saying that my mechanical engineering degree hasn't served me well, because it has. But had I taken any time to test my assumption before making my decision, I could have made a better choice. So if you're making important, life-changing decisions, it's important to test the waters before jumping in headfirst. Here's a few examples. If you're defining your major, it makes sense to job shadow a variety of careers. Or if you want to get engaged, it might be a good idea to live with your partner before popping the question. I can't thank you enough for watching this video, and I hope it was helpful. Now, I am shamelessly trying to grow this channel, so it would mean the world if you could subscribe, like, and share the video. Believe it or not, it takes over 100 hours to make these videos, so any help would be greatly appreciated. As a final note, I've also got a list of helpful resources linked below, like a transcript of this video that covers all of the ideas I shared today in a clear and organized format. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.